I think we're live. What's going on, Big Blue Nation? How's it going? Welcome to another episode of the Bleed Blue Network Daily Show. I'm Paul, joined by Jaden, who is very pixelated.
Am I?
Yeah.
Well, that's not good. I don't 100% know what to do about that, but
We're going to have to work on your internet, I think.
see, I say this all the time to my roommate, and every time I get told that we have the best internet possible, so I don't really know what the solution is there, but I may just have to get my own hotspot.
Yeah, well, it is what it is. So, but anyway, happy Tuesday. Hope everyone's day is off to
Game day.
a good start. Do what?
Game day.
Yeah, it is a game day. I thought you said payday, and I was like, who gets paid on a Tuesday? What the hell? I mean, I'm not going to begrudge it. I mean, payday is always good. But I was actually just kind of like, wow.
No, game day.
Game day, yes, game day. Kentucky takes on Minnesota State today at 7 p.m. This is the last game until things actually get real and it goes live, and the games count. I think everyone's still talking football. Vince Marrow made a comment today. I believe it was today. It might have been like yesterday. I actually didn't look at the timestamp, so we can.
He did the Stoop show. He did the Stoop show last night.
Yeah, he did. I didn't actually get a chance. Did you get to watch it?
I'd never listened to that show. I worked it last year, and they don't say anything. So no.
Yeah, the coaches' call-in shows seem very quick, and it doesn't seem like there's a ton of content that you get, but that's totally fine. That's neither here nor there, honestly. But obviously, with today being a basketball game day, we will probably talk a little bit more basketball than football, but who knows? We get sidetracked. There's really not any rhyme or reason to what we do. If you want to jump in on the text line, 859-412-2090 with your questions or comments, we are more than happy to do that. If you're listening to this when it's already posted, obviously the text line is not going to be there. You can send a message and we can answer them on the show tomorrow, though. So that is a possibility. Jaden, what do you think we are going to expect from the basketball team tonight?
Yeah, for the basketball team, they play Minnesota State Montauk. Maybe I think that's what they're calling it. Mankato, Minnesota State Mankato. They're the defending D2 national champions. I think they bring back 3 starters from that team. They lost the leading scorer and a 35% 3-point shooter. So it's not the same team, but it's close. The guy they lost last year, his brother, Kyrese Willingham, is their leading returner. Justin Egan's is a 42%, I think, 3-point shooter, something like that. So that's kind of the 2 leading stars for the team. They're fast-paced. They shoot a bunch of threes the way we do. They kind of play similar to us in a different way than Wesleyan played, more like a Cal team where it's kind of sets and maybe a couple specific plays here and there. But this team kind of runs more like a Pope team where they run up and down the floor, get into some fluid motions, shoot a lot of threes, not as many as us, but a lot of threes. And it should be a step up in competition, but I expect the Cats to be okay tonight.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I don't think we're necessarily worried about a loss. I think if we were worried about a loss, we would have a problem. That would probably be very, very not good. We'd have. Here's a question. This is maybe a stupid thing, and people will laugh at it. If the basketball team were to lose to somebody like this, what would be the bigger meltdown? Would it be that? Would there be understanding there? Or do you think it's definitely football the last 3 weeks?
Probably football the last 3 weeks still, because I think it's kind of a culmination of a couple of average years that we thought wouldn't be average. And then, this year that's a disaster. But I mean, if they were to lose, it would obviously damper my excitement a little bit. with the way Duke's playing in their exhibition, I would be less excited to play them if we were to lose to Minnesota State.
I haven't been following these exhibition games, and now you're starting to see they're playing like different, like our actual players play. Like watched a little bit of the Kansas one against Arkansas, and obviously Kansas wasn't playing their, three of their best players. And, are we putting too much stock into preseason games? Kind of like we might put too much stock into group of 5 football games.
Oh, 100% we're putting way too much stock into random exhibition basketball games, but we don't have any other basketball games. So all we're going to do is put stock into random basketball games. I kind of want to look up, I don't know if all of Arizona State played for Duke, but I mean, Arizona State went all the way to Duke, so I would expect them to lose, but not by 60. So I'll look into that. But yeah, what's like a player that you're looking for that you think maybe can have either a better game or maybe a repeat strong performance?
I think the curiosity perspective is seeing if Almanor's, continues, that kind of shooting prowess, because I think with his size and ability to guard multiple positions, but also, stretch the floor and be a, very big defensive mismatch for other teams. I think if he continues to kind of show that, like, when we talked to him and when he came on the space with us, months ago, I think it definitely would, bring a whole nother element of what Kentucky's offense could be. Now, obviously, we still, I think everybody believes that this is going to be a great offensive team, but there are nuances to that offense that can make it significantly harder, right? And I think that Almanor is a guy that can do that, and he can bring like a significantly different look to the offense. Because he can also, he can score in the paint. He can get his own bucket. He's got a good, decent mid-range game from what we've seen from his game film. So I think that's, for me, I want to see him continue. From the other standpoint, it's a negative, but I'd like to see Amari's offense. He made some good passes, but I feel like overall Amari was a little quiet in the first game. In a game he maybe shouldn't have been that quiet in, because he had such a big size difference. Now, there's also those weird factors in when you play a team that's a lot smaller and the big guys seem to struggle more. I don't always understand that.
It's just the reach for a steal or something is it's much easier for the shorter guy to just get down to it on like a dribble or something like that. So
I would like, we're not unhappy with the results of what happened the last game.
Trying to find little problems to work on in a 71 point.
And I don't even know if it's a problem. I just want to see that aspect of Amari's game kind of come out. And then I think everyone's very excited about the possibility of seeing Kirk Kriisa tonight, because I just feel like he's probably, the de facto fan favorite. And
they made it sound like he's probably going to sit out again.
Yeah, look, at the end of the day, there's two ways to think about it. And obviously, Mark Pope's got a press conference tomorrow. We'll be attending that. At least I will. I don't know if you'll be there or
what time is it now?
10:30, I believe.
No, 30. I won't be there.
He has the press conference tomorrow. Obviously, if Kurds doesn't play, there might probably be some questions on, like, all right, he hasn't played either exhibition game. Obviously, there's erring on the side of caution. But now that we're talking about, this is a 3-week lingering on the erring on the side of caution. Is this something that's a little bit more serious than you guys might be letting on? And I think that's probably a conversation that will be had tomorrow if he doesn't play. But, let's see. Look, if he misses 2 or 3 games, I just think that it would be not the greatest thing to have him be his first game back be Duke. You'd like to see him get a little game, some playing time and get his game legs under him a little bit. Obviously, it looks like he's practicing though, so I don't understand.
He went through I don't know if he went through the full warm up, but he did some type of warm up before the game against Wesleyan. So he's odd. It's not like he's not active. He's just not playing in the scrimmages. So I think he's just not ready for game reps yet.
Yeah, it's
a cardio problem, probably, if I had to guess.
Yeah, but you could give him
a lingering soreness.
Yeah, but even if it's cardio, you could give him 10 minutes a clock, to run. I'm out of shape, man, but I could probably give you 5 to 10 minutes still, and I wouldn't be very good
running the way Pope has him running.
Oh yeah, I give you 5 minutes. I get 5 minutes. I'd be done after 5, but I mean I get 5 in. I can still get up and down a little bit. I'm not decrepit yet. I mean I am almost 40, so that probably doesn't help. That's a young man's game. But I was trying to pull up some stuff on Minnesota State. Did you look at their record last year or anything?
I didn't see the record, but they won the national championship, so I would imagine it was pretty good. They are still preseason first in their conference, the Northern Sun Intercollegiate Conference. Do you have strong thoughts on that?
No. So they went 17-12 overall last season.
Well, that's not the best for a national champion. I wonder how many
the national champion, the NC,
the D2 national
NSIC tournament. No one they did not win it last year. They lost round last year.
What website did I just have that on? What did I do? Okay, I know where I am.
Are you looking at actual Minnesota State?
I'm looking at
Intercollegiate Conference.
I'm looking at the KSR article that says defending NCAA Division II national champions. I don't know.
It does say Minnesota State. Maybe that was their.
Either way.
So
either way, they even if they were the defending Division II national champions, they did lose their leading scorer from last year. With a name Malik Willingham, his brother Kyrese Willingham is.
Sorry. Last year they went 29-2.
Oh, that's much better.
29-2. They were a number 1 seed, and they won the national championship against Nova Southeastern, and they won it by 14.
That's an impressive win.
They smacked just about everyone.
Yeah, I don't know if Division II is giving them much of a competition. I did notice you were talking about Wesleyan being small. Their tallest player is 6'8", and they have a 6'8" guy and like 3 6'7" guys, and I think they're all freshmen. So I don't know if it's a very experienced front court. It doesn't seem to be, from what I can tell, and I have to be honest. The research is limited on Minnesota State.
They have a 6'7" freshman. They do have a 6'5" guard. It's good size. Their guards,
6'8" junior now. There he is. That's the big man. But I mean, they're gonna shoot a lot of guys.
They got a lot. They're not tall, but they've got a lot of guys 6'5" to 6'8". Right?
Yeah, it's a whole lot of wings basically. I mean, their best player is. He's listed as a guard on their website, but he's described as a forward as you research him. He's a 6'5", kind of a brute. The Kyrese Willingham, the brother of the leading scorer last year, 6'5", 210. So he's a thick, kind of big boy. And then the shooter is a 6'3", Justin Egan's. He's kind of he's their main offensive threat from the outside.
You got a guy. Kyrese Willingham shot 56% from the field and averaged 14 points a game. He's a 6'5" guard for them. So I'm just kind of like getting a little bit more from that. They got a forward 8.1 points. So they got production, it looks like, coming back.
Yeah, they have 3 starters.
They're leading, like no, that's a guy who averaged 5 points a game. Who'd you said is the brother?
Kyrese Willingham's the leading returning scorer.
Yeah.
He's the brother of last year's leading scorer.
Gotcha. Gotcha. They got a lot of guys that average 10 points, stuff like that. Yeah. So I mean, you would expect that this might be a little bit of a step up, at least. I mean, look, if you win a national championship, it doesn't matter what level you are. You're probably at least a decent mid-major.
They will.
D1.
I would imagine we'll play a Division I team that is worse than them. I don't know who it is or where it is, but I would imagine we will play a worse D1. I know we played them last year. That Stony Brook team, I could have played on that team.
I mean, our schedule actually, basketball schedule-wise this year, is not actually got a ton of cupcakes on it.
They're all at the very beginning in December. It's like December.
I mean, Wright State, you never know. I mean, it's kind of like the weird, right? Like,
yeah.
I guess UC Upstate, that's probably one. Northern Kentucky, Wofford.
They're decent. Wofford will be decent.
Yeah. I thought we played Wright State.
We did the first game.
Yeah. Wright State, like, it's kind of like the unknown there because we don't really know. And some of these teams are always like decent little mid-major, like Wright State, Wofford. I mean, these are – I don't know if UC Upstate's been in the tournament. They might have. It's not a team I remember, but I know Wofford has. I know –
we played Wofford a couple years ago.
So, like, Wright State's played in tournaments recently. Bucknell's played in tournaments recently. Lipscomb, they're not that. I don't think Lipscomb's that good. Jackson State's played in the tournament with Kentucky.
Bucknell lost a lot. They lost to the two good players from last year, both transferred. So I don't know how they're looking.
But they're always but Bucknell's usually always
decent.
Yeah, decent. Yeah. And that's where I'm not saying that these are. But if you look at it as a program, right? Yes. Georgia State invests a lot. Obviously, you have Gonzaga. Colgate, that might be one that's that's more of an Ivy.
I mean, they make the tournament a lot.
Yeah, but it's different. But they're making it because of it's that. That's it's less about their Brown, Colgate, those two schools, right? You're not going to probably have as much athleticism, which I think is going to where we'll kill a lot of teams.
I would imagine there's some type of either connection or a playing style specific thing that Pope wants to work on with those teams. Like, I wonder, I must admit,
it's not as cupcakey as I remember in other seasons, even though they're mid-majors and teams that maybe aren't. There are a lot of teams that are going to tournaments or competing for their conference titles and have done so relatively consistently.
That was the
5-year spans.
Like the Tubby thing, right? Was the bad teams you schedule should be the good bad teams, so that it challenges you / doesn't hurt your numbers and your resume.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly, I think that I like the schedule. I like playing Western. I think that's a good move. And like the thing about the schedule is you've got Wright State, Bucknell, Duke, Lipscomb, Jacksonville State, Western. I'm going to put Western as a tough game because they've always got a good team. You got Georgia State, then Clemson. Then you have Clemson, Gonzaga, then you have Colgate, then you have then Louisville, Ohio State, then you have Brown, and then you're in the SEC schedule. There's not a lot of ramping up with this schedule. I mean, you've got like 2 games where you'll play a mid-major, then you play Duke. You got another 2 games, then you're playing Western, right? Like, so you're playing a lot of teams, right? Every second or third game, Kentucky's got a team against
you kind of get. Yeah, throughout the non-conference, you kind of get, work on it, see if you figured it out. Work on it, see if you figured it out. You don't really get
towards the end of it. It's like you get work on it.
You better have figured it out.
Yeah, I mean, look,
you better figure it out because they'll get you quick.
We don't know how good Ohio State is this year. I mean, obviously, that's
I'm gonna guess probably not the best.
We don't necessarily know how good Louisville is, but I think you'd like our chances playing at home.
Outside of Arkansas and Louisville, what game are you most excited for?
Alabama at home.
Yeah.
I think Alabama at home. We do get Alabama at home, right? I thought.
Yeah, we play them both. We play them home and
Alabama at home, I think, is the game I'm looking forward to the most because, at least for right now, because Alabama is obviously the number 1 team in the country. And I think that could be a really fun game with the playing styles that both teams have. That could be a barn.
Be a lot of points.
Lot of points. It could remind me of I know Kentucky lost the game, but it was UCLA when we had Monk and Fox, and it was a barn burn. It was like 98, 95, something like that.
Lonzo and TJ Leaf in
Yeah,
Rupp.
and we ended up getting them in the tournament, right? We got them in the tournament, but we lost to them in the season. That was a fun game. I remember that. That was kind of one of those just run and shoot games. You had two guys on each team dropping 30 points. Lonzo went off. Yeah. De'Aaron went off. I think De'Aaron had like 38 game or something.
Lonzo had 39 in the tournament game.
Yeah, well, the problem was
not Lonzo, De'Aaron.
Yeah, well, that was but Lonzo, I think, didn't go off in the tournament. I think we play a lot.
No, Lonzo was not good in the tournament game. He went off in the Rupp game, though. He was good.
Not early. Not early. He missed a few first shots and then went off. But I don't know. I don't remember. Someone didn't have a really good game that game for us. We barely lost, and then obviously, and Lonzo hit a shot like late to kind of seal it too. It's a fun game. I was there. But I definitely think that Alabama game could be more of like that run and shoot. I mean, last year, kind of was like that, but obviously we beat Alabama like a bad stepchild last year when
they were not as good last year. They weren't as well rounded.
Bama?
Yeah.
They only went to the Final Four, so I mean.
Yeah, I know, but the tournament has a little bit of I would expect them to be better in the regular season this year.
I honestly think, and this is not even a weird thing, I think this Kentucky team, the more I think about it, is built more for March than they might be for the regular season because of the play and the shooting. Because shooting it's always teams that are hot in the tournament that can shoot. If like someone said, shooting travels, right? And that is the part of the game. And you always see teams like, look at Alabama, right? Alabama could shoot and they went on a run. They got hot at the right time. You've seen Auburn do it. You've seen other teams do it. And the problem with Kentucky the last couple of years is they've not had that consistency, right? Like even with the team we had last year, yeah, we were fun offensively and defensively was a liability. But in the tournament, if you only rely on two guys that are the most consistent things and you don't have that other avenue, or you're incapable of trying to create other things, that it bites you. I think this Kentucky team has 5 or 6 guys that can probably go for 20 to 25 on any given night. I don't know the last time Kentucky's really had that.
That was always a Cal stat, right? If you have, what did he used to say? It was 6 guys who could go for 20, you were a championship contender. Or if you had 6 that scored, or 5 that scored 25 or something.
Well, the thing is, we had that last year. We just didn't have it where guys they had capability, but they just didn't do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Or they did it like once and the rest of the games were not.
Correct. And that was kind of our Achilles heel.
This might be way too specific of a memory. I feel like EJ Montgomery did that and was like the 6th to do it. And I was like, he's averaging like 3 points a game. And Cal's like,
yeah, but also
we're 25, we're the contenders.
Yeah, but like let's not roast EJ too much. That he should have probably been on a national championship winning team. Yeah. The COVID team, I think. Like that is also like a weird thing that I don't think a lot of people talk about with the Cal era. If Cal stays, right? Like let's say 2020 when we play, that team has a really good shot of winning the SEC tournament, has a really good shot of winning the national title. Cal's probably still here. Like there's no way 4 years off that title we're running Cal out last year if we had won the title in 2020.
I'm wondering if he would have last hurrah left after that.
Maybe Cal would have left. Maybe Cal would have said, hey, like, maybe Cal would have said, hey, like, we're out. Like, I'm done with this. And that would have been.
That 20 recruiting class was not, that was like BJ and Terrence Clark and them. So it wasn't like he had a DJ in that class that he needed to see. Like, it wasn't like he had a chosen one in that class like he does in some of his other classes. So I think maybe he would have retired if they had won that.
Maybe he goes out. Maybe he goes to the NBA again. Maybe he's like, hey, I won 2 titles here, we never know. But that is the great piece, the weird piece about, how the Cal era ended because, we went with no tournament for that season. And then the next season, we've got this.
It was not good.
This dog doo-doo season that everybody hated and dreaded. And then it kind of like, then it was the end of days. It was the end of it from that point on. It was never the same again. And who knows, coulda, woulda, shoulda, right? Like if that would have happened, you never know. Maybe Cal's still here. maybe the fan base isn't as mad. I guarantee you the fan base wouldn't be as mad.
I was about to say I'd rather be where we are now, but a second championship would be pretty nice. So I guess that's an interesting question. Would you want the championship and Cal still here if everything else had gone the same? Or
absolutely, I want absolutely,
it is the championship.
Absolutely, I want the title. That's the banners mean everything, but like the big, it also goes back when you look at the Cal era also a little bit more objectively. The coulda, woulda, shouldas. I mean, we should have at least 2 more titles. Like Cal should have won 3. He probably could have won 5.
Yeah.
And how different are we? Team. And how different would things have been then? If Cal beats both UConn teams that we played national titles against, well, one in the Final Four, obviously, but I think if we win that game, we probably win the national title.
Yeah.
Then the national title that they lost in the title game, I think both of those teams were better. Obviously, you have the Wisconsin. We should have won 3 straight, right? Yeah. Those 3 right there, and then you kind of throw. I think if you throw the Monk season, that was. I think if Drake May doesn't hit the shot, I'm pretty sure. I think that was Hero, right? That was Hero. That wasn't Monk. That was Hero.
No, because Hero lost to Auburn when they played him the 4th time. That was Fox Bam lost to.
Yeah, that was okay. Yeah. I think that team probably is the national title. Potentially,
probably the second best team and played the best team.
Yeah. That was a Final Four national championship mashup. That was a Elite 8. It was 1 versus 2. Right?
Yeah, it was Elite 8. I was just lost by 1 or 2 to.
1. We lost by 1.
Yeah, that was the championship that year.
Monk hit the 3, and then May hits that bullshit shot, right? And then you go to the 2020 team. So there's 5 title teams. There's 5 teams besides the 2012 team that should have won titles.
Or honestly, didn't even.
And we should have won. We should have won 3.
Didn't even mention 2010 when we were the best team in the country.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That one where we gave up. Well, also West Virginia comes in shooting 26
42
and goes absolutely. Yeah, and then we can't buy a 3. Like that game to me is less.
That's the most brutal one to me. Of like, how did we lose?
No.
Not as far as like the one that hurt the most, but it's the one that's like, looking back on it, it's like, how did we lose that one of all the like what had to happen? And then you look at what happened, you're like, wow, that had to happen.
That was the perfect storm of wow. I mean, honestly, like there are games outside of those 5 where you look and you're like, Cal lost those. He did not coach the right way. He did the wrong things. That game, I don't think you look at Cal and say Cal lost that. We couldn't hit the broadside of the barn, and West Virginia hit everything. What do we get? Mm-hmm. That was there was not a lot you could do there, right? Like that's not on coaching. He was pulling guys in and out. Guys, we just didn't hit shit, and we barely lost still. Like we still barely we lose by like 4 or 5, and we couldn't hit the broadside of the barn. Like that. Yeah, it was the worst shooting game that the team had in a tournament, and I don't know how long. And West Virginia goes off, and then what do? They get into the Final Four, and they get absolutely boat raced by Duke. Now, their best player broke his leg. I get that. But also, like, they couldn't hit the broadside of a barn again. They go back to being a 25% three-point shooting team. And, what is the guy? What was it? The guy averaged, like, 2.3 points a game, goes for, like, 28. Like,
something like that, yeah.
That's actually good coaching. You let the guy, you're like, well, if we lose, this son of a bitch is the one that has to beat us. And that son of a bitch beats us. So, I mean, it's what it is. But I think the other ones, in 11 – obviously that was not that one we should have won. I think it was a little bit of an unexpected run, but that
you're also playing Kemba, so like,
yeah, but that was always Achilles heel of Cal. Fast point guards that can create their own shot. He could never defend against them.
It still is.
Wisconsin hurts the most. Like Wisconsin hurts the absolute most because that was just dumbass coaching. That was Cal trying to play favorites instead of win a national title. If we beat Wisconsin, I think they boat race Duke. I think they. Yeah. I think that was the game that if they would have got to the title, that game they just boat race Duke. I don't think that would have.
Sam Decker was the only person in America that could beat that team,
and he didn't. And honestly, we played like dog shit, and we did get robbed. The 3 no calls in the last 2 minutes absolutely screwed Kentucky over. Like that's also part of it, but it shouldn't have been that close. because Cal refused to play. He had to play the Harrison twins, and they were not playing well. And if he
I've
pulled
never totally blamed him for that just because of
but
what they were.
Ulis was playing well when he was in the game. So why would we not run with a hot hand? That was also a Cal thing. Cal didn't always run with a hot hand. He would always play the guys he was air fingers quote loyal to. And he should have ran with Ulis. And he should have ran with Booker. They were playing better. And if they're playing better, like that was the point where you're like, all right, all these, like your draft stock's not going up if you're the Harrison twins, unless you're dropping 35 in the Final Four in the Natty, right? They weren't dropping 35. Don't play them. You're going to hurt them more if they play like shit and you lose. And it did. They played like shit and they lost, and their draft stock took a hit. And look what happened. That's a thing. Should have won that one. And then obviously, I think that's another question. If the 15 team wins and goes 40-0, is Cal ever touchable? Like, does the fan base ever run him off? If Kentucky does the immortal thing and goes 40-0 and wins the national title in 15,
again,
I think Cal
ever
leaves until he's just done.
Yeah, I honestly, I think I'm the opposite. I think if he went 40-0, he would have left that year because he wanted to leave the year before.
That's fine. Listen, if he leaves and goes to the NBA, but what I'm saying is, if he says I'm staying at Kentucky forever, does he stay until he decides to leave? Because here's the thing. Could you imagine Coach Cal coaching at Arkansas after being the Kentucky coach that took them 40-0? And two natties.
It still looks fake when he's coaching him now.
Yeah,
I didn't even want him here, and it looked weird.
But we also thought the last 2 or 3 years of his time here was fake, right? Like, he's more of a caricature now than a coach. But if we would have went 40-0, you're a different level. You're something that's like is never been done here.
2 championships is such a big jump from 1 championship. It's a different category. It's a different class when you have 2 instead of 1. Only the elite.
Kentucky should have broke UCLA's record for most national championships in the Cal era. And I think that is one of the biggest failures of the Cal era, because we should have.
Probably, yeah. But it was a lot of fun those years.
I mean, it was fun until we lost.
Yeah. What did you think of Tony Bennett retiring like 2 weeks before the season?
I don't remember who gave this take, but I agree with him. I think it was selfish as shit. You recruited players to come there. You talked people into coming to Virginia and sold them on your scheme, your coaching, all this stuff, and to quit on your team 2 weeks. And I don't give a shit if you don't like the landscape of college basketball. Be a man, have some fucking integrity, and coach the season and then retire. Like,
that's what I was always trying to figure out is why would you what changed in NIL that made him want to retire?
I mean, if that's actually why, right?
That's what I was kind of getting to is I don't feel like anything changed in the last 2 months really. Like what's going to be different from a month ago to now as far as NIL for this season? Like that's the part that didn't make sense to me. I didn't know if maybe he used that as a reason and there was something else, but I don't want to speculate on something that he wouldn't want to say. Like that doesn't sound good, but
no,
but it was just weird that he would retire at that moment.
I don't think it's speculation. I think it's just the thing that we're sitting here going, it's selfish as shit.
That was weird. Well, yeah.
And
one of their players in the portal today averaged 7 points. A transfer from Florida State. I know we have a rough.
Be allowed to instantly play, too. Like that. Those are the things about the NCAA that I can't stand. Coach leaves, doesn't matter when he leaves, players are stuck. Why? Why is it like that? I mean, I don't, and I think we were talking about Cal and all this, and I think the big thing that I would like to see from a Kentucky fan base perspective is we got to get over the fact that Cal isn't. I mean, most people I don't think care Cal isn't here. But talking about DJ Wagner and Z and Adu, so happy to see. You know what? Respectfully, fuck that. Like, I thought it was silly. I did. Hung a banner up outside of the NCAA to get Z cleared, and he fucking leaves. Bye. Like, adieu, all the people that championed him. Bye. I mean, these guys were here, and the fans supported the players. They didn't like Cal, but they sure didn't like beat up on the players a hell of a lot. And they left. Bye. I'll never for the life of me understand why any Kentucky fan is going to give any credence or anything to guys like that. They're not here. They left. It's like seeing your ex-girlfriend leave you, or your ex-wife leaves you, your wife leaves you and starts dating some other dude. And you're like, I'm so happy for her. Fuck that. I hope she never finds happiness. Like, I hope Arkansas goes 0-40, not because I hate Arkansas, but because I feel like the disloyalty from that perspective, I don't think it should be rewarded. But that's me. Like, I'm not going to root for them. I'm not going to be happy. If Z scores 30 in a game, I'm not going to be happy. If DJ Wagner can shoot 52% from three this year, I'm not going to be happy. I'm not going to be happy for any of them.
All right, so you and ex-wife have adopted a dog together, and ex-wife gets the dog and takes the dog with them. Are you going to be like, man, I hate that stupid dog that I've had for 10 years, and I don't want that dog to be happy? Or are you going to be like, you know what, I hope the dog has a good time, even if I don't like her anymore?
It depends. It depends who is better to the dog.
The dog is better than the wife.
It's a little different, though. We are talking about the aspect about an animal that literally has no freaking choice and has to go pee outside in the rain over a player that we put a billboard up for and said free Big Z to get him eligible, and then went berserk when he threw a pass in his first game. Like, that's not the same. He had a choice. I'm gonna tell you right now.
I know it's not the same. I wanted to play the scenario because I thought it would be funny.
Z in this offense would be a top 10 pick, but I don't know about
that. Z does hurt because he would be so money in that role at the center. I don't know. Like, it makes you think of, like, what would we have done differently? Like, what would be different about the current roster if it had Z?
I only wanted two players from that roster to stay.
Z and
Wagner. No, I'm talking about the guys that were going to go on, like, the lottery.
I didn't know if you were assuming
No. Obviously, if Reed Sheppard would have stayed, we'd have done backflips because Reed Sheppard.
That would have been. At the Mark Pope press conference, he starts listing them all. He does his little Sheppard line. I thought for sure Reed was coming on the stage and saying he's coming back in that.
That would have been epic. I had the camera.
I thought he was
just in case. But I think DJ Wagner. I think DJ Wagner in this offense would have been really good, and I also think Z in this offense would have been very good. But they're not here, so I mean, respectfully, buzz off. I want you to be as good as Cooper Flagg, which is not good. And that sounds really weird from a 40-year-old talking about 18-year-olds, but I get it. Like, it's more so the team than anything.
It's sports and fandom. It's not real hate.
Look, if Cal would have left and just retired and they were like, hey, I came for Cal, I want a fresh start. All right, cool. But no, you all lost to fucking Oakland with Cal and then went to Arkansas. Bye. Bye. Or if the new coach would have come in and been like, hey, guys, like, you don't fit my system. Like, it's going to be better for you to transfer. Bye. Okay, good. Like, I wish them luck. Good job. No.
Are we certain Pope didn't do that?
I know. I don't think he wanted to do. I don't think he wanted to do it all because a dude does not bring an offense.
It's not the same fit.
No, it's not. I do know that he met with DJ Wagner and Z multiple times to try and keep them. Because those are two guys that really I did think fit the system.
I knew he had talked to Zila. I didn't know about DJ.
Yeah, we talk about all the recruits. I don't care about any of that shit. Like, honestly, in the NIL era world, you can play the transfer portal game. Look at our top 5 recruiting class. Yeah, well, look at our top 5 portal class. I'd rather have that because I know those I know those SOBs could shoot. I know what they're going to do when they get punched in the mouth. I don't know what these kids are going to do, and that's the biggest part. And you just don't win with freshmen anymore. You don't even win with 5-stars anymore.
As we're building, like, the runaway number 1 recruiting class in the country.
Yeah, but the biggest thing I think with Pope is I think, and I
hope they're not forced to play.
I hope that's the case, right? But we also have a different style of play that will be more conducive. If you look at Duke and the way they recruited, like Cal just went after rankings and then put the team together and hoped it worked. We actually seem to have a rhyme or reason for the guys we were going after. All right, what are they? What are some key metrics? Size, ability, scoring, shooting, right? Like they all have things like that you can point to. And I just don't. I with Cal, you just never saw that. It was just like, here's the top 10 players. I'm going to go get 5 of them.
Yeah, and it's interesting to me, the philosophy of recruiting, because you're correct that it's kind of just take the guys and then kind of make it work for Cal versus, or take the guys and make them work for him, whereas Pope is maybe get the guys that already work for him, even if they're not the same talent. But Pope is also recruiting a lot more people at an early age, even the top guys. I think in the 26 class, or maybe it was the 25 class, he'd already offered the top 12, like just the straight up 1 through 12 in the rankings. So it seems like he's starting wide and giving everyone a base, and then whoever ends up molding into the kind of his players is who he'll go after. Whereas, it seemed like Cal would maybe pick his guys sophomore year, and it was, if they would, if someone would break out, they would try to come in, and sometimes they could try to come in, like a Justin Edwards and steal him from Tennessee, and other times it was too late to jump in. So, I think it's an interesting that they're recruiting. You would almost expect them to do it the opposite, for Cal to just offer everyone and take whoever comes, and Pope to be very selective with his kind of offers. Yeah. Whereas it's kind of the opposite. Pope is willy-nilly with his offers and then recruits the specific players, whereas Cal just recruited the guys that he was selective with from the beginning. But
I don't know if you saw this or not. Trilly Donovan posted it, and it was pretty it's pretty funny. Yeah, let me see if I can find it. I want to quote it kind of exactly, if I can. If not, I'll paraphrase because it's still funny no matter. Is it in his reply?
This is irrelevant, but someone just said we're farther from John Wall's season at Kentucky than Wall's season was from Tony Delk. That was completely irrelevant.
You're breaking up. You just broke up.
Can you hear me now?
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm just scrolling Twitter trying to find the Trilly thing, and someone said we're farther from John Wall's season at Kentucky than Wall's season was from Tony Delk, which was completely irrelevant, but I thought that was an interesting little nugget. Now I'm starting to feel old. I've always heard people say I feel so old when stats like that happen, but now I kind of feel old when stats
just shut your mouth, you baby.
John Wall's when I started remembering things.
I want to listen to your shit. Trilly Donovan said, in quotations, Arkansas has contacted season. Throwing shit at Arkansas. It's kind of funny.
They did. A Musselman would talk to everybody in the portal. That was always a funny little thing. You knew everyone that entered the portal was contacted by Arkansas.
Go
ahead.
Are you at all a soccer fan?
I am not a specific soccer fan, but I can find it interesting. I don't like to watch the games. I don't have
Manchester United just hired a new coach.
Who is it? I'm sure somebody listening will know what you're talking about.
Ruben Amorim. He's from Sporting Lisbon.
I'm assuming this is your team that's hiring a coach?
Huh?
Is this your team that's hiring the coach, or just a team?
I've been a Man United fan for I really enjoy Man United, and I slowly I think I really enjoy Wrexham as well, but they don't play in the same league, right? Like I really.
Why'd you choose Man United?
Huh? So I was in college. One of my buddies was from Manchester. He played for Crewe Alexandra in their youth team. He actually played against Man United in the youth FA Cup semifinal. and Man United was always on in the Champions League. Back then, when I was in college, you really could only watch Champions League, and you would get 4 or 5 teams that they would put on back then.
Yeah.
And so I just went to Man United from kind of the guys that I knew that were from that part of the world.
That makes sense.
And then with Wrexham, I watched Welcome to Wrexham, and I had been traveling. I used to travel a lot more than I do now. And I reached out. I just, if you guys, I don't know if you've watched Welcome to Wrexham or not.
Mm.
If not, you definitely should. It's phenomenal. If anybody else has watched it, if you have watched it, Wayne Jones, who owns the turf, you've seen him in every season. He and I have been able to become pretty good friends. I go over there, spend time with him. Spencer Harris used to be the director of football, and then obviously he was a volunteer. Now it's not a volunteer role. He's actually an executive with Kellogg, and so he's busy anyway. So he's now an ambassador. But me and Spencer have become close. I've been to Spencer's house. His house is in the first season, Welcome to Wrexham, when Rob and Ryan come over and stuff. So I've been to his house, met his family. He took me on a nice little tour of northern Wales just to kind of see the sights, and took me out to lunch. And so he's a Jets fan, and I'm a Dolphins fan, so we have a little smack talk there. I got to know other people around the club and things like that, and it's just been a really kind of good time. So I really enjoy. I had a Wrexham podcast. I just don't have time. I do now more. I might fire it back up. I've thought about doing it. I've thought about firing it back up.
Do they have any chance of being promoted to the same league as Man U, or is that it's the same system?
So they're in the playoff. So they were in the National League 2 years ago. Now they're in League One. So they went National League, League Two, League One. So they've been bumped. They've been promoted 2 in 2 years. If they get promoted this year, and I think they're 2 points off top. They're in a playoff position right now. Obviously, a lot of season left, but if they get promoted again this year, then they go into the championship, which is right below the Premier League. Now you go into the championship. Now you're dealing with big boys. Like it's a big difference. I said the year they won the title in the National League, I said Wrexham would go to the Premier League in 5 to 7 years, and some people laughed at me.
Yeah. So how do you
one step away from being there and potentially in 4? I don't think you go to the championship. Go ahead.
How do you get promoted? Is it winning the championship, or is it like the top 2 teams?
No. So that's a good question. So in the National League, it's the hardest league to get out of because only the top team gets promoted. Like you win the league, you get promoted, and then you go to a playoff, and it's a 16 playoff, right? Okay. And then so only 2 teams leave. When you go to League 2, 3 teams automatically get promoted, and then a 4th team goes up via playoff.
Okay.
So they finished in 2nd in League 2 last year, so they automatically got promoted. And then this year they're in a playoff position to go from League 2 to the championship. Top 2 teams get automatically promoted. 3rd team goes via the playoff, and then obviously the bottom 3 in the championship will go to League 1, and that's kind of how.
So it is always even. They don't.
Yeah, that's promotion relegation. How the system has it in Europe, which is I love it, because if you're at the very top, you're competing for Champions League, you're excited. And if you're at the bottom, it's dreading, but it's also like squeaky bum every week because you're trying not to go down a league, So, so if they get
promoted, gives everybody something to fight for, everybody a reason to.
Yeah. Every game counts, right? Like it's different.
Would you be pro doing that with like conferences in football if they were to do like the format big conferences thing with break off?
You mean like
break off from the NCAA? They took the 4 big conferences.
Relegation, like in football. I think it would be cooler if
I've just seen people discuss it. I don't know if you would be a fan of it being a soccer guy.
No, I think what would be more interesting is like a divisional type of a format. I think that's a little bit more realistic for college football. I think that would make it to where you could spread it out a little bit more. So things aren't so top heavy. The problem is no matter which way you slice it, I think Kentucky ends up, you end up with Tennessee, or if you'd end up with Ohio State. Now, would it be more exciting for a little while if you ended up with like Ohio State, Michigan, and
if you were to have one? I was just thinking while you were talking, another reason why you may not do that is because the professional athletes are under contract. so you kind of know what your team is. You don't. It's not a completely different team every single year.
I
The
think
way
you're going to have that, though. I think one of the things you're going to see in
it's
NIL
coming.
profit sharing, is where players are going to like. I think there'll be a minimum standard of if you go somewhere, you have to stay for 2 years, unless you're, your grad. I think grad transfers will
Or
probably
coach
stay the
leaves,
same,
or
or
there'll be
coach leaves.
exceptions.
Yeah. I think those will start to play into things, or they might have, hey, I'm going here and I'm signing a deal, so I'm going to stay. I'll sign a 4-year deal, and maybe it's more lucrative. And
It'll be through the not through the collective, but through the school and the collective's money. That big pot that they have that the collective currently holds that the school will hold next year.
Yeah, I think it'd be
whenever they make the profit sharing thing a thing.
Yeah, I think that would be an interesting. I mean, look, I think college football, as we know, it's going to be completely different 5 years from what it is now. I do kind of like, some people don't like it. I also say good on like the SEC and the Big Ten, and kind of saying getting ready to flip the bird to the NCAA. Like, the NCAA is almost a meaningless organization,
but they don't do anything for football anymore. There is no,
they don't do anything. Period.
They run the basketball tournament. I know that they get the money for that.
All right, and you don't like, what if Elon Musk ran the?
Somebody else could totally do it. I'm just trying to think of things that they actually have the ability to do right now.
Let Dana White take over the NCAA tournament. I guarantee you, it's just as badass. If I don't hear that CBS, if I don't hear that,
I think CBS would go with the teams in the tournament before they went with the NCAA.
Oh yeah, I mean, but again, if I don't ever hear it, like, are you missing? Are you missing the CBS 3:30 telecast for?
I miss it. I miss the one game a year Kentucky would get it, like the last couple of years when we were actually decent.
We were the first 3:30 game ABC had for the SEC, and that didn't work out well.
I know, but something about when we would play Georgia in those for the SEC East games that we really didn't have much of a chance in.
That was only once, but yeah.
And it would play the music, and you'd be so excited. But for just a regular game, it doesn't really change anything for me. I'm watching multi-view anyway. I'm probably, if the game's not on, I'm probably on just another game's sound at the time where that music comes on anyway. So it makes sense. Georgia Moore, the women's basketball player, preseason All-American, was selected to the Jersey Mike's Naismith Trophy Women's College Player of the Year watch list.
Did you see what Rando put in the chat?
I did not see what Rando put in the chat.
It's going to be funny. I got to go look and see if he's getting crucified yet.
Oh, that's really funny. He was close.
I mean, at least it's in the same state.
He got Hog Ballburner to bait.
Yeah, well, Hog Ballburner is a piece of shit, so.
Oh, man, that's funny.
That's actually really funny that happened. Switching gears a little bit to football. Obviously, yesterday, Stoops was not on the press conference. And Vince Marrow did the call-in show last night, I believe. I did not watch it, but he did say, and he did say, I feel really bad for our fans. I'm telling you this, we will get things going. Keep supporting and believing. We will get this thing going. Vince Marrow on the health of the roster. Currently, nobody's 100% right. Our guys are really sucking it up. So there's just a couple of quotes from that. Obviously, it doesn't look like recruiting's taking too much of a hit.
Nobody's decommitting as we keep losing.
No one's decommitting. Yeah, I mean,
decommitting.
Are you optimistic? Do you think that obviously this season being lost, there's still hope for next season?
Hope for next season as in competitive or better? Or
do we even know what our schedule is next year?
It's the same season as this year, just flip the location.
Really?
Yeah, so we go to Georgia, to South Carolina, to Auburn, and to whatever I'm blanking on the last one, whatever the last one is, Vandy. And we have Texas, Ole Miss, Florida, and Tennessee come to Lexington. And I guess we go to Louisville.
Yeah. Yep.
We'll
Yep.
have
Texas here will be interesting. I
And
mean,
we'll
Texas and Ole Miss here will be in Texas, Florida. So next year at home we have Florida, Ole Miss, Tennessee, and Texas.
Yeah, it's just this year's flipped, and then probably an FCS school from Tennessee or Ohio, and then a couple MAC schools. And
we play Tennessee Tech, Eastern Michigan, Toledo.
Oh, so it is an FCS school from Tennessee. I have a friend that goes to Tech. Not much going on in Cookeville, Tennessee.
I don't know. I the dates obviously and how the schedule is put out is not there. But our 3 non-conference games are Toledo, Eastern Michigan, and Tennessee Tech, and then obviously at Louisville, at Auburn, at Georgia, Florida, Ole Miss, Tennessee, Texas at home, at South Carolina, at Vanderbilt. So we've got 7 home games and 4 road games.
Doesn't sound good at all, to be honest with you.
I mean, it doesn't sound. It sounds about the way it sounded this year. I mean, there's not any. I mean, that's a schedule you can navigate.
You get Arch in Lexington.
You get Tennessee in Lexington. I mean, look, here's the thing. Like, here is the aspect. Texas loses a lot. Now, we don't obviously the portal, but Texas loses a lot. Ole Miss loses a lot. Florida might be good.
Ole Miss is the one that I think would be the biggest swing, just because Auburn, they have so many portal players.
Auburn's going to be. I mean, Auburn. I mean, yeah, they beat us, but I mean, they're not good. We should have won that game.
Yeah, Louisville, but I'm worried they'll finally get a quarterback in the portal.
Louisville is Louisville, right? I mean, and then South Carolina, you don't really know what you're going to get either. I mean, they're Jekyll and Hyde this season too. So, and then at Vanderbilt, you don't really know how good Vanderbilt. I mean. I mean, I mean, if you can get good players to come in the portal, obviously, I mean, you're gonna know how you feel about next season more so in December after the portal closes than you are now.
Let's put the Halloween week 2024 official prediction in. I'm gonna predict that it doesn't, like that it's not much better next year, just because the way that it would get better is if either A, you went and got a new quarterback and a new coordinator that were both like stars, or B, Brock and Bush sit for a year, an offseason together, get the continuity, take the year 2 quarterback jump, and Brock and Bush are the stars next year. There's 2 ways to do it.
I think again, sitting here now, I don't know.
I think it's try to get quarterbacks.
You're cutting out again. So I'll jump in if you can hear me.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yeah. I know that Kentucky's in on a lot of big players that are potentially going places. Like I know that there is a world where Kentucky can bring in a very, very, very good transfer class. It also depends on who stays, who goes, right? That also goes in the world of who we're playing, right? Like Kirby Smart could get a $15 million contract from the Cowboys and go, you know what, F it, I'm going. Right.
Yeah,
like
100%.
There's a lot of things, Lane Kiffin might go to Florida. That would change the dynamic of things a little bit. Josh Heupel. Look, there's talk that Heupel might go to Oklahoma. And I don't care what any Tennessee fan thinks. They're talking right now. Oklahoma is talking about right now getting rid of Venables and trying to bring in Heupel. Heupel won a national title at Oklahoma. I promise you, if Oklahoma offers Josh Heupel a contract, Heupel is leaving Tennessee. And Heupel leaves Tennessee, Tennessee becomes a different game. So there's many Clark Leah maybe this season gets him a different job outside of Vanderbilt.
No, so there's even if Pavia just leaves, that would.
Well, Pavia's a senior. I don't think he can play anymore.
Yeah, no, I think that would just help tremendously on the.
You've got Hugh Freeze at Auburn might not be there. That could be a whole new regime. So when you look at these teams that are here, like the only team I look at on the schedule next year, I mean, look, Beamer might. There's a world Beamer's not even at. Beamer might go to Virginia Tech. That job's probably going to be open. potentially going to be open. And if you don't
Yeah,
think he's going to go coach where his dad's a legend, you're crazy.
Yeah,
so,
I would think Virginia Tech would look better than Beamer.
But if you, but I think you misunderstand the Beamer name and
yeah, I know. I just maybe it's because
we're looking at this. We're looking at the gimmicky glasses and all that shit.
Maybe it's because I hate him.
It is because you hate him. It's 100%, but that's okay. I'm here for the hate. But if you look at Kentucky's football schedule next year, every team could there's every team in the SEC that we play outside of Texas next year is probably going to have may not even look the same next year in coaching staff, let alone roster. So a lot of things got to shake out, I think, for that. Look, there's a world where Stoops isn't here either.
I was going to say, I bet every one of those teams is going through the list, going through all of them. They're getting to, Kentucky Stoops might leave the way that things are going.
Look, look, Stoops, like we've said all along, and this is 100% right. If Stoops wants to be here, he's going to be here, right? When we look at these other teams, we know that people are going after Kiffin. We know that there's a lot of talk around Heupel in Oklahoma because Oklahoma, that the Brent Venables experiment just is not working. Now, here's a fun thing. Here would be a fun thing. What if Venables got fired? Kentucky brings another coach in, and they brought Venables in as the defensive coordinator.
I mean, I think if you could do that, you would have to try, right? Like if you had a DC opening at the end of the offseason, that you would have to try.
Yeah, I wouldn't hate it.
If there was an opening, I don't think I would move on. I wouldn't move on from Brad White to have the chance at Brent Venables. But if there was a reason why the DC position was open, then I would give him a call. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I think it'd be interesting, but anyway, that's neither here nor there. The schedule, I don't think I don't think the schedule is impossible next season.
No.
I think it's just so many moving parts and variables to it. I mean, it shouldn't have been what it is this year, and we might go into it next year saying we're going to go 4-8 and we end up going 9-3.
Yeah.
You just never know. And that, right now, I mean, look at all the teams that are losing games. I mean, Alabama's got two losses, and who had that on their fucking bucket list?
It's really going to come down to if there's going to be any type of optimism, it'll come down to who's playing quarterback and how do they if it's Brock, how does he look at the end of this season if they go back to him / the off season? Just because we have some chances to see some of these improvements. Some of the passing academies and stuff, specifically like the Manning Academy, is kind of where you can see the guys do their thing. Like Brock went and he didn't wow anybody other than throwing it really far, which I thought was kind of note because they tend to talk about, how good these guys are throwing to the different receivers and stuff like that, and how some of the coaches rave about, or some of the former quarterbacks like the Mannings and them rave about certain players, and they didn't do that. They just said Brock kind of threw far. But it'll really come down to the quarterback position for how optimistic you can be. That's the ceiling for everything. If you either can have an amazing team or an amazing quarterback, and you got to have one of the two to be competitive.
Also, an offensive line helps.
Well, where we thought we had an amazing team, we had glaring holes this year, and that's kind of bitten us in the butt a little bit, just because the offensive line and some of the running back depth, and recently the defense has.
I mean, also though on the flip side, Kentucky could have won another 4 games already. I mean, that's the other thing that really pisses everybody off, I think, about this team right now. I think it's going to be an interesting offseason. I think Stoops would only go to one place if that opened up. I think there's only one job. He might say, you know what, I'm going to go there. And I think that would be Iowa.
I was gonna wonder if we were gonna say it out loud.
I think Iowa and how they play, I think he could go there, and I think he would probably do pretty well because Iowa's style is the style that Stoops likes. I just don't think it translates good to the SEC right now.
They're used to not having very much fun and winning.
Yeah. Well, we're used to just not winning, so I mean,
Yeah, so it's why it works so well for so
I
long.
think that's the only way that Mark Stoops is not here. So I think Iowa is probably the one you keep your eye on. I don't think Florida State would be an option. I think
No.
I think if it's Florida State, I think Deion Sanders is probably a look. Um, I think they look at a lot of play. I think Lane Kiffin is where they look there. I think it's you're looking at Florida State. Florida State, after 2 of the last 3 years they've had, they have to go get the right person. It's kind of like Florida. Like that's the aspect of where some of these jobs being opened and where like Kentucky fans are like, oh, get rid of Stoops. You might want to wait a year also because you don't necessarily want to be up against Oklahoma, Florida State, some other school. Auburn.
I think we're in a little bit of a different spot because
we are,
there's
but
like a 90%. There's like a 90% chance that the coach is one of 3 names. So like, and that's not names that are in those coaching discussions. So it's a little bit different.
I mean, I've told you guys this from what I've been told that Summerall is not the first call. Not saying he doesn't end up being the coach because Mark Pope wasn't the first call and he's the coach, right? Like that, like those things can go. That things can go. That it can always go different. But I don't think Summerall is the first coach. And the biggest reason I don't think Summerall is the first call is because he doesn't have a recruiting base. And in Kentucky, like you could talk about him right now, right at Tulane. Guess what? Louisiana has a recruiting base you can go get from. They're also right next to Alabama and Texas. Kentucky does not have that. Kentucky has one top 200 player in the state. And they got to go get other players. And you can't win in the SEC with one top 200 player. Like every year, even if we have 3 and you get all 3, that's 3. And you're playing teams. I mean, even the mid-range teams have 30. And so that's the aspect of where I think we have to realize that. And I think they want somebody, if you can pay $9 million a year, also, you can go get somebody with a name that can go do some stuff. I think that they will try that first. I think that there will be a desire to go get a proven Division I winning coach. I think there's a couple people out there that they might be able to throw some money at, and you have the SEC, and they might look. I'm just saying.
It would be exciting. So I was just thinking Brad White, Vince Marrow, John Summerall are like 3 names. What would you say percent chance? It's a dumb, no reason question because
I asked someone about Brad White, and the response was no.
Oh, I was just wondering what you think the percent chance it's one of those 3.
20%.
Interesting.
As of right now.
Okay.
And that's only because I think that there's a bunch of other people that they're going to go out. I think Summerall would be the coach potentially. I think the hype that UK fans give him is unjustified and unwarranted in the aspect of look at these guys, look at the record of look at Florida's coach and look at Florida State, look at their records and look at you look at some coaches that Auburn have brought in and like you go down the list and they brought them into those programs. What have they done? Miami did the same thing. These guys were at Group of 5 schools. They did really good jobs. They had a lot of wins. They didn't beat a lot of Power 5 then. Now it's Power 4 teams. They got in here and they've gotten crushed. Like Florida's had top 15 recruiting classes for 4 straight years and they suck. All right. Mm-hmm. Just because you win in the Group of 5 realm doesn't mean you're going to win in the SEC. I would rather Kentucky go out and get a coach that has some name recognition, that has the ability to excite the fan base and has more experience than bringing, obviously we could talk about, well, John Summerall played here. That's great. I get it all. And maybe he ends up being an amazing coach. Maybe he does. But do you take the risk of the last time we brought a coach in here that was an alumni in UK football and that shit was a dumpster fire, right? Like you got to look at this very objectively and not just in the Stoops hate-filled glass that a lot of people are looking at and say, if Kentucky's willing to fork out $9 million a year, there's a lot of coaches out there they can go get. I really like Arizona State's coach. I think Dillingham's a guy. I think he would be very exciting for the fan base. He's young. He's done a really good job. He understands NIL. Players relate to him. He's doing a great job at Arizona State. I realize that's not there, but it's also a Power 4 conference. They've won some good games. They are very competitive. They play an attractive brand of football. I would look. That's my like. If you're asking me who I would go get, I would. And if it can't be like a name guy, I'd go get Dillingham. That would be my point.
That's interesting. I'm just trying to pick your brain here a little bit. You said Summerall without a recruiting base is your hesitation. What if it was Summerall and Vince? Like what if they could keep Vince?
I think Vince
Summerall outlook.
Maybe a little. I think it has to have some stuff like that, right? I think we would feel more comfortable with it, but also Ohio's not. I mean, when Ohio State was really recruiting just Ohio, what was going on? They were losing, right? I mean, you got to go get other kids from other places. So, look, there's a world here, and y'all might think I'm crazy on this, but I'm gonna tell you right now, if Ryan Day gets fired, I'm hiring that son of a bitch.
Yeah.
All day. Damn day. All damn day.
That's probably the answer.
I'm going to get Ryan Day because I can pay him almost the exact same money that he's making at Ohio State and to come to the SEC and reprove himself. And you're basically taking him 150 miles away from where he was recruiting anyway, and all those connections are there. And my number one pick is if a coach gets fired. If Ryan Day gets fired, it's Ryan Day or bust. It has to be.
And you can bring Heartland with him.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, that would be
that is best case scenario if Stoops would choose to leave because UK does not get that decision. Let's throw that out there.
Correct. We're just
playing hypotheticals,
right? We're playing hypotheticals. We're not like saying, "Hey, we hope this happens," or blah blah blah. We're just speaking in the like. Kirk Ferentz makes $7 million at Iowa. I think Stoops. They would probably be able to pay Stoops probably $8.5 million. I think he would go. If he just wanted a fresh start, maybe he doesn't. Kind of just looking down like the list of the top 25 coaches and stuff. I don't see like there's nobody else in here in the top 25 coaches that are here right now, paid in college football. I don't think that there's anybody else that we could legitimately look at and say we could probably go poach them. I just don't. Maybe you could go get Luke Fickell at Wisconsin, but do we want Luke Fickell? I don't think so. I think if you're looking at in this, I've heard Brett Bielema's name, but do you really want Brett Bielema? I'm not. I don't think that's a name that would get the fans excited. I think he would be more of a stopgap coach. So if you're looking at the names, I think Dillingham at Arizona State is a name that I would get really excited about. And I also think if Ryan Day got fired, I think you need to again, if Stoops decided to leave, which we don't know, but in the scenario, if he does, I think you throw the fucking kitchen sink at Ryan Day.
So are we just all in on Ohio State losing now?
I'm always all in on Ohio State losing.
Well,
but
yeah,
that's the game. Yeah. I think Ryan Day at a place like Kentucky would be kind of like, what's his face at Mississippi State versus Florida?
The head coach,
not Muschamp. Who is the
basketball coach at Mississippi State? And
he used to be the football coach at Mississippi State. Then went back to Florida. Huh? Dan Mullen. I think he'd have an effect on Kentucky like Dan Mullen had at Mississippi State because some guys. Could you imagine if Ryan Day came here in Kentucky, just perennially went 9-3, 10-2, and made the playoffs? Just be a god. Just be a god.
Yeah, you cut out a little bit there, so I don't totally know what you said, but
right.
I'm going to work on the internet situation.
I said if Ryan Day if he got fired, if Ryan Day got fired from Ohio State and Kentucky was able to bring him in, and Kentucky perennially went 9-3 or 10-2 and made the playoffs often, he'd be a god here. It'd be over. Like, it wouldn't matter. I think he would be I think he could be at Kentucky what Dan Mullen was at Mississippi State. Some guys are better. They're elite head coaches, but they're better at they're better at like the tier 1Bs than the tier 1As.
It's also, I think that there can be culture differences in recruiting pipelines where Mullen his system where he was running the ball so much and doing all these things, it worked with Mississippi kids who are big old boys who are running, like, you're just running the
Well, it's
ball.
that,
Where
though.
Florida is a little bit more of a, just the typical player is a little bit more of a.
But if you go 10-2 at Mississippi
Agile.
State or 9-3 at Mississippi State, right? I mean,
Yeah.
look, Dan Mullen wasn't going 5-6 at 5-7 at Florida either, and they ran him off, right?
That was a mistake.
You go 9-3 at Florida, and people are maybe pissed. You go 9-3 at Ohio State, and they want to fire your ass. You come to Kentucky and go 9-3, 10-2, and you start making playoffs every other year. Build the fucking statue. Like,
yeah.
I mean, and then maybe you have one of those years where you go 11-1 and you win a conference title. Bro, sign me every 5 years. If you were to say we go get Ryan Day, Mark Stoops leaves, goes to Iowa, we get Ryan Day, every 5 years you're going to have a team that's going to go 11-1, be top 5 and contend for a national championship. In those 5 years, you're going to go 8-4 to 10-2, and you might make the playoffs another 1 or 2 times. I'd be like, sign me up.
Yeah, I think that's maybe an important thing to note about Stoops and how we're feeling about him right now is if the last 2 years at 7 wins were the middle ground between 21 and a 9 or 10 win season this year, then the 7 win seasons wouldn't matter. Correct. But going 10-7-7 and then like,
if we would have went 10-7-7-8 this year, I think everyone's happy as a pig in shit. But you don't like. There are certain things as a Kentucky football coach now you can't do. You can't lose the fucking Vandy. You can't lose to South Carolina, and you sure shit can't lose to both of them in the same year.
The 7 need to be the floor.
And Florida, like there's teams now like Vandy and South Carolina you have to beat.
Yeah.
Florida and Louisville you need to beat at least one, and then God, like if we could just get someone who beat Tennessee every other flipping year, we'd be on cloud 9.
I want to beat Tennessee once every 4 years.
Be like, so this, it's a weird scenario right now. Like if let's say Ryan Day was to get fired at Ohio State and Stoops was to leave this year, but Tennessee, Florida State,
that's what I don't think that I don't think
schools open. That's where I'm saying like, that's I don't necessarily know if we would get him either, but like there's also a flip side. What if Stoops leaves in those jobs and only Florida opens and Oklahoma open and Tennessee opens? Well, those are 2 I think Kentucky could go play around with because I don't know if Ryan Day would be maybe the number 1 pick. But if you got 5 more marquee openings, right, like the list flips. And then maybe, what if Stoops stays 1 more year and then decides to leave? And then, Ryan Day stays another year and then he gets fired. But there's only, Kentucky's like the only.
Because Ohio State is really good this year. It would be.
Well, if they don't win the national title this year, he might get fired no matter what.
Yeah.
I don't think we're going to win the national title this year, just to be honest with you. I don't think.
Who do you think are teams that can win the national title?
Huh?
Who do you think are teams that can win the national title?
I mean, I think Ohio State can win the national title. I think Georgia.
The actual contenders.
Actual contenders. I think
the actual contenders.
I think there's like 6. Georgia, Oregon, Ohio State, Miami.
I disagree.
Miami's offense is so good that they can literally go brain dead on defense for a whole game and still win.
I think it'll catch them when they play not Virginia Tech or Louisville.
I mean, it won't matter because if they don't lose until they get to the ACC title game, they're going to the playoffs anyway.
Well, I'm not saying they won't make the play. I think they'll make the playoffs. I don't think that they're.
I still think they're a contender. I mean, and then Texas. And then I think there's probably 1 team in about another 7 that could potentially make
Penn
a
State's
run.
the one that confuses me.
Penn State might jump into that category more.
I can't figure out if they're an actual contender or not.
Yeah, but I can't figure out if Ohio State. Like I say Ohio State because I'm in the agreement with you, thinking that they're good. But
I say Ohio State because the roster is insane.
Yeah, but also look at them. They've played like we've talked about this, right? Yeah. Their first halves are dog shit, and they played 1 pretty good game against Oregon where they didn't play like dog shit to start, and they lost. Yeah. Then they do it again at home to Nebraska, and they should have lost. And now you've got Penn State, and now you're gonna like one of those 2 teams you're gonna really think is.
We'll find out.
I don't think Indiana's a contender, but they might make the playoffs. Let that sink in. Indiana might host the playoff game. Let that shit sink in. I go get Indiana's head coach in 5 seconds.
Yeah, Indiana's head coach would be. What is he paid? I don't know.
Oh, we could definitely make him.
Well, I just wonder if they're. I mean, I imagine they're probably gonna drop the bag because everybody's gonna go
Can
after
they?
him. There's no way.
$3.5 million. No, his base salary is $500,000.
Yeah, his salary's $500,000.
He agreed to a 6-year contract.
Like
base salary, yeah, $500,000 in year one. He will earn $3.5 million in outside marketing and promotional income. That figure
that's like endorsements and the weekly radio show and stuff like that.
Yeah, I guarantee you that they're gonna have to figure that the fuck out because I mean, my number one pick. If you look at the coaches that are just that you could probably go steal, Dillingham. He's probably 1A. They're probably 1A and 1B Indiana's coach because we'd go pay him $7 million and he would come here in 2 seconds.
Yeah, Indiana, I hope that they've started fundraising because they are in for a heck of a pay increase.
I'm going to tell you right now, Florida probably goes after that guy. I wouldn't be surprised if Florida State moves on. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. That Florida State's the weird job. I don't know if they're going to get rid of him or not because of last year. You might have that good grace. But if you look at his record without who's the quarterback last year? Yeah, it's awful.
It's terrible. They were awful before Jordan Travis. Jordan Travis was here. They were amazing. He got hurt. They were awful. And then they were awful this year. It's kind of like Jordan Travis was Norvell's Watson and Lawrence for Dabo. He had the two elite quarterbacks.
He's 29-9 with Jordan Travis as a starter and he's 2-11 now.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I lied. He's 3-13 now.
Without Travis,
which is freaking
That's
terrible.
A bad record. It's really bad.
So overall, he's 20
better than our home record.
23. What?
Better than our home record in the last 13 games.
Here's a question: would Norvell be someone that you would, if Stoops was to leave, would you be interested in? My gut says absolutely not, but
I don't think
I don't like him either.
I don't think I would have been interested in him from Memphis, so probably not from Florida State.
I think he's a big whiny ass.
It's never something about him has never like convinced me that he would like be like a consistent, really good coach.
Yeah,
I don't really know what it is, but
I think there's some other interesting names out there, right? That I think they would probably get a look at. I think Manny Diaz with what he's done at Duke and how fast they've turned that program around. I think he would get a look. That's another name that would scare me. I think he'd win the PR battle, but he would scare me a little bit because if you can't win at Miami, I don't know if you're going to win here. But he's doing real well at Duke. We're going to see how well he does at Duke because if Miami smacks him this weekend, that's a thing. I think.
Let me. How long is Pittsburgh's coach? Oh, it's Narduzzi still. Never mind. I didn't know if they had gotten a new guy in the last couple of years or not.
I don't know who Pitt's coach is, but Pitt.
It's
that's
Narduzzi.
not a job that makes me excited.
Well, I mean, they're 7-0 is the way I was looking at it.
Yeah,
blowing teams out. I was just looking at coaches that we could go potentially like
Clark
pay
Lena. Look at him. I think that would be a hire that the fan base would be very blah about.
No, I think Clark Lee would not be the Vanderbilt coach next year if he didn't go get the guys from New Mexico.
Probably not.
So,
good move. That was a good move on his part.
It is a good move. It's a very good. Like, do you look at the guys from New Mexico and
no, no.
You don't want Jerry Kill? Is that one of them?
No, we're good. I'm gonna pass on that one.
You don't want to run the triple? Gavin in the triple option? Get Navy's coach?
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Especially after they got train wrecked this weekend by Notre Dame.
Army's coach?
No. They're pretty safe staying where they're at. To be honest with you, I think that I think we're good with those. But anyway, obviously it's a moot point because if Mark wants to be here, he's here anyway. It's a fun exercise just to talk what ifs, right?
The if Stoops hypothetical.
It's an if Stoops hypothetical, right? Like, I think there's also a and then also it's the he stays, and what does Kentucky need to do? I mean, I personally think he has to blow up the coaching staff because I think he might be too comfortable too, right? I know. I mean, look, Brad White might go somewhere else anyway. I mean, he could go probably get a big pay raise. I mean, there's a chance maybe a head coaching job somewhere comes for him. Like, I think as from the football perspective, you have to really start looking and going, like we need to blow this up. Like the staff has been there and it's been there a long time. I think you have to make those massive changes if he's back.
Yeah, it's hard to find the specific coach that I think is the problem, if that makes sense.
It's not necessarily one. I think it's more of the overall cultural.
Yeah, that's the problem. That's the problem from an outsider is from an outsider. I look at all the coaches and I'm like, well, that guy's good. That guy's good. There are things that make these guys effective football coaches and effective position coaches. But if the culture altogether doesn't work, then you may have to fire good coach, move on from good coaches.
The biggest danger, I think, also too, is if we do that and someone thinks maybe Stoops is only there for one more year. Well, I mean, still, like, we don't have a buyout. Listen, Stoops could be here for like 2 more years before the buyout gets even manageable. So, again, Stoops is here until he doesn't want to be. But you could run on the devil's advocate side of that idea too. You can run into like some guys like, I'm not going to go there because that might be a one-hit wonder. And I'm tired of people like looking and seeing Liam Cohen's face that we should bring him back as head coach. Fuck that.
No, do not go get Liam.
No.
I think that's burned bridges.
Yeah, well, also we saw all kinds of stuff about like, look what he's doing. And then, Baker Mayfield goes out and gets absolutely throttled by Baltimore like the next week. So it's all relative. Guys lose. Like, it's just you don't remember this, do you? You don't remember when the rumors of Bill Parcells was going to be the coach of Kentucky football, do you? Oh, that was an interesting time, man. That was an interesting time to be alive. And then we got Rich Brooks.
Yeah, that was the Rich Brooks hire. Okay, I got you.
I don't think no matter what happens that Mitch Barnhart should be allowed to hire another major coach at Kentucky.
That's the different aspect is Mitch. If Stoops were to leave this year, does Mitch leave with him?
I hope so. I mean, look, I know
so. Cal and Mitch had always mentioned wanting to leave together. I mean, they did that press conference 2 weeks before he left for Arkansas, where they were like, we're going to leave together, leave it better where we found it. And then Cal just left. Like, I wonder if he ends up just doing that with Stoops instead. He waits till Stoops leaves and then he.
I think Kentucky needs a new athletic director. I think they need a modern athletic director. I don't think Dwayne Peavy's the right guy either. I think they need to go out and get a good athletic director that can.
Does the Dwayne stuff still stay a thing without Cal? Like, is he still kind of
maybe not?
Like, I was wondering if he was kind of the Cal pick of.
Yeah. I would say yes to that. I just look. I think Mitch has been here for 22 years. That's a long damn time for an athletic director. Mitch Barnhart and I've said this. He's been late on NIL. He's been late to a lot of things, and he's put Kentucky in 2 really shitty contracts. He's made 2 atrocious hires in the 2 main sports. Like, at some point, you got to go, oh, look at you've done. Look at baseball. Look at gymnastics. Okay, well, when okay, good job on baseball. But also
at some point, the sports.
We also thought baseball we might have to find a new coach if we didn't have a good season. Also, and Minjion goes to the World Series. So
at some point. In the most, am I cutting out? Yeah, kind of. Am I good? Okay. In the most like black and white, unemotional sense, like they just the sports that make the money have to be good. Like it's just the way it is in athletics, especially college athletics. Like, football runs everything everywhere. Football runs schools. That's why they played during COVID and didn't have kids on campus. Because football keeps universities open. Football keeps all of the sports that we want to be good at. If you're not good at football and you don't have the money, you're not going to even have those. Those sports aren't going to be competitive anyway.
It's very rare that you have a place like Kentucky that can self-sustain football and basketball.
And that is the talking points for Mitch Barnhart is without football even being great, he built great programs, and then he hit on the hire for Stoops. But yeah, I think some of the directional long-term program stuff may need a new perspective just to try to stay ahead of things and try to stay competitive, especially with profit sharing and stuff like that. I get nervous that Mitch will put resources into things that aren't going to aren't going to bring in a financial return, that aren't going to help you build in the future.
Mitch to me does things too much on personal than on what's best for the program. I understand he wants to bring in, and it's good to potentially bring in people that have good character and all this, but you know what? Sometimes you just need a coach that's going to peel the damn paint off the walls sometimes and get a result. And I don't feel like we have we have brought a lot of those in. I think look, Nick Saban's not going to probably win a lot of church contests.
No.
But if Nick Saban said he wanted to come back to coaching, I would take him in 3 seconds.
Oh yeah.
And that's, I'm a big Florida Panthers fan, right? And so Paul Maurice said they needed some profanity, so I brought some, right? Like sometimes you got to know when to just, and I've led sales teams, and there's been a few times where you can only get away with it once or twice, but you just got to kind of risk it. You've got to shock in all the people. You almost have to make it that they hate you more, and they might dislike you so much in that moment that you get the best out of them because it's just pure hate. Now, when the best comes out of them, they see, right? But sometimes you got to be the bad guy for a while. And I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I think the biggest thing with Stoops and stuff right now is it's too much fucking coach speak, man. Like, just say it sucks. Stop saying we need to do better. I need to coach better. Nobody gives a shit. Don't say rinse and repeat. All the things he hurts himself. Cal hurt himself because he just kept saying things that people didn't want to hear. I think that's why some coaches get away with stuff longer is because they're relatable and the fans appreciate it. Hey, man, we suck. We suck. There's nothing I'm doing right now that's working. We're injured to shit. We can't play guys. They're not at 100%. And we're playing other teams that aren't as banged up right now. And we're getting killed. We're getting killed. The offense isn't working the way we want it to. The progressions aren't going through the way we think it is. We're calling a play and we're not executing, right? Say it. I get it to the point you don't want to throw kids under the bus. They also get paid now. So if they're not performing, you've got to stop. And my number one criticism of Mark Stoops in his entire era is his inability to just throw caution to the wind sometimes. And what happened the one time this year you went against Mark Stoops being Mark Stoops? We beat Ole Miss, right?
Yeah.
Doesn't do that. And I think the players would appreciate it more if he came out on Tuesday and said, listen, Gavin's not played worth a shit. Brock isn't playing worth a shit right now. We might have a potential first round pick in Cutter Boley. He might not be ready, but we're going to see what he's got. We're going to start him, after Tennessee. After Tennessee, not this week, because don't do that to the poor kid. But if he did that, I think a lot of people would be like, you know what? That's not a bad idea. I think if you wanted to see asses in seats, I think you'd see a lot of asses in seats for Murray State too, because I think a lot of people want to see that happen because he's a Kentucky kid, right? He's got a high ceiling. I think people would be excited.
Cutter is the way you get people excited for that game.
Correct. And I think that's the way you go about it. And then what happens, you say, listen, we'll start him against Texas. If it goes well, he'll stay in. If not, he's got a very short leash because we don't want to destroy the kid's confidence. And it's a tough environment to play. If he plays really well, he'll stay in. If not, we're going to pull him but he's starting against Louisville at home. Throw all this out there. I guarantee you the fans are on board on it with it. Now, are they going to be happy if we go 4-8? No. But you're going to at least start to show that, hey, listen, I'm going to start playing people because they might be better, not because they're a senior or because they're supposed to be the starter. They're supposed to start. And I'm not saying, I don't think Brock's fully healthy. I think he's running for his life as well. There's other aspects. I don't think this is necessarily a Brock problem. I don't necessarily think it's fully a Gavin problem. But I think sometimes you have to do some shocking shit to get everybody else on board to realize that the reason why these guys aren't playing is because you sucked.
Yeah, I wish that there was an option before Cutter for that, just because I don't think that putting true freshman Cutter, and like he's not only is he a true freshman, he reclassed up a year, didn't he?
Murray State would be fine though, but Murray State, I think
I just yes, it probably would, but I wouldn't want you to say he gets. I wouldn't.
So here's the thing. Let's
say
they started Cutter against Murray State. Let's just throw this hypothetical. Let's say he goes out there and he throws for 190 and 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, right? You don't start him against Texas. But let's say he comes out and he throws for 420 and 5 touchdowns and no interceptions, and you go, yeah, you know what? Maybe we got to give the kid a shot to play the next time. There are things. I mean, we just got beat by a true freshman quarterback.
Yeah,
there are things that I think that you can look at if you were to play him against Murray State, and I think you should. I think they should start him against Murray State personally.
I disagree. I think it should just be a shorter leash to get to him, just because.
Start him. Why? Against Murray State, they're an FCS team. Why would you not, like, if nothing else, you're saving the 2 guys that can actually go out and give you more cred against Louisville, and they're not going to get banged up. I'd play him and Bo Allen against Murray State.
But what a disaster it would be if he throws 2 picks and we lose.
And why? He's a true freshman. You literally come out, hey, listen, we gave him a shot. He's learning, he's progressing, and guess what? We still won the game. You can afford.
No, I'm just saying. I think it would be a disaster if we were to go with him for a quarter. He throws 2 picks. We start off down 14-0. We can't come back.
I don't think we're gonna. Yeah, but here's the thing, though. You're looking at the aspect about Murray State. If you can't come back, first of all, if Murray State can score that much on Kentucky, we have bigger problems. That's number one.
Yeah, I know, but you just I feel like you just put yourself in a scary position really quick.
But maybe you don't, right? There's pluses and minuses. Here's the other thing. What if we start one of the other guys and they throw a pick and we're down 7-0? It's going to be way worse. There's at least optimism in the future. There's not optimism in the same old, is what I'm trying to say. So there's you can play the devil's advocate on the swing of all this stuff. I think you have to look at the kid, and because we've heard how good that they think he is and all of his potential, I think you give him the run out there. You try and save Brock and them, especially before you go play Texas. And then, maybe you get a better game out of Brock because you've saved him a week's worth of getting banged up. You never know.
I would be concerned. Murray is the only one that I would like them to go in with a plan of playing. Extended minutes. But for the rest of the games, I think that I would stick with the 2. And because we had heard that the plan was Cutter year 3 anyway. Oh, well, yes, don't go with the other 2. Go with just Brock. But the plan has always been year 3 for Cutter, which is a considerable. It's a long time. We would be moving the timeline way up from what we thought. We thought it was either going to be 2 grad transfer quarterbacks or one guy for 2 years.
We're not blessing him as the starter moving forward. You're giving him some actual, just legitimate playing time to see. Look, you're absolutely not wrong in your concern, but there's also the flip side of what if the kid comes in and he's actually way better than we thought when you put him in a game, right? There's been a lot of players like that. That practice not very good, and then you put him with the helmet on, and all of a sudden it's like, shit, look at that. Now people can point to Florida, but he also played with the 2s, and it didn't matter, and it's different. They're teeing off, right? You're playing different. I think it'd be worth a look. Because at the end of the day, look, there is the risk that he throws for 450, looks really good, and it's against Murray State, and then we start him at Texas and he gets absolutely boat raced.
Yeah.
It's but what if he goes into Texas and he throws for 265, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, we lose 27, 31-27, and now you have a quarterback controversy. And look.
Oh, if you go to Texas lose by 4 and he throws for 250 yards, there is no quarterback controversy. He's the quarterback. There's no longer a quarterback controversy. He's the quarterback. I would say that's highly unlikely, though. But I guess you don't know unless you try it.
At this point, can it be worse? Can it be worse?
I was going to say there are worse things they could be trying than Cutter.
Could it be worse, right? Are we going to end up being worse anyway? I don't start him against Tennessee. I just think that's not good, right? I think you want to give him a cushy game to kind of get his feet wet.
Yeah, I am not excited for Saturday.
Watch
I'm predicting the Tennessee win. I'm doing all I can to get Kentucky a win.
I will not be predicting on the pregame show that Kentucky's going to win this week. I would just tell you that. That is a safe thing to say. I will try. I will probably by Thursday. I'll probably have talked myself into the fact that it's going to be a close game. I still think it's probably going to be a fairly close game. I don't think Tennessee has the offensive prowess to put anyone out.
The problem is the defensive line has been so bad the last 3 weeks. Giving up. The lowest success rate they've given up on the run the last 3 weeks since the bye week is 48%.
Yes.
That is – the other two games have been over 50%. I think Auburn was like 58% success rate on rushes, which is really, really bad. Like, not just bad, really, really bad.
That's the other thing when we talk about Brad White and our defenses that are always very good in the first 6 games and not as good in the last 6 games, and that's something that's been a staple of Brad White's defense. Like, why? Why? Is it depth? Is it because we
think this year, in a strange way, I think there is some depth problems just because of the mass amounts of injuries they've had on the defensive line. Because, I mean, Austin Ramsey was playing nose tackle at the end of the game. Did you see that?
No.
That's a redshirt freshman offensive guard was playing nose tackle last on Saturday at the end of the game because they ran out of bodies. Everybody is hurt, or I don't know. Or the guys that they could move in are small. I mean, now this guy is like 6'8", 350. He's massive. This is the house guy. I don't know if you remember.
They just put him on. They just put him on the line and just hoped that he was so big he made something out of it.
I don't know if you remember when we were recruiting House. This is Austin House Ramsey. He's a massive human being. So he's the size to play that. But they were playing an offensive lineman at defensive tackle last week. That's how the defensive line depth is going right now.
Do we know anything about JJ Weaver yet?
I haven't seen anything. Brad White was kind of like he didn't say he's playing. He said, we'll wait and see. We'll see what happens.
All right. What's your score prediction for tonight? Who is your player of the game?
Score prediction. I think I don't think we're going to shoot 50% from 3 again. It would be really cool if we did. I think that Minnesota State is better than Kentucky Wesleyan. I think it'll be a considerably closer game because I don't think we'll play as good, and I think they're better. So I will say 91-64, a considerably closer 27-point game or whatever, 20 whatever. I'll say 91-64, Kentucky player of the game. I think Jackson Robinson goes off. I think they run through the star and he goes for, 25-30.
So our score predictions are pretty close. I'm going to go with 93-67. I think you're right in that this is a better team. I'm going to go a little bit on an oddball. I'm going to go Ainsley Almanor as my player of the game. I've always had a little sneaky suspicion that he might be a really, really good player here. He kind of did that, and I'm going to ride and see if we continue that. But I'm going to go that route for tonight. I don't think it's necessarily close. I think maybe it's more like a 10-point game at halftime, and then obviously pull away. But maybe it's not. Look, if we boat race another team by 70, we're this team. If Kentucky were to beat this team by 70, I'd be a little bit more like, all right. This might be a really, really, really good team because this is a defending – like, even though they have other new players, they're still solid. Like
that would change my preseason prediction if they beat this team by 70. I would be willing to say that.
Yeah.
I would be much more confident.
I agree. Well, guys, thanks for listening. We've been going for about an hour and 45 minutes. I'm starting to think we might need to start doing this a little bit later because it seems like we get more people on the later it goes than in the beginning. So maybe we'll relook at that. Maybe we need to look at this being like a 1 p.m. thing instead of a 12 p.m. thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, thanks everyone for joining. If you didn't catch the beginning, it'll get posted on the podcast page, and we will we'll go again tomorrow. So recap the game and talk some comments from Mark Pope and his press conference tomorrow. I think it's tomorrow. Maybe it's Thursday. I got to double check on the day. Anyway, we'll do a recap of the basketball game anyway. So, all right, everyone, talk to